This morning on DC News Now, President Biden dropping out of the race, endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris.
The time has come for him to pass the torch to a new generation.
What the unprecedented move means for the Democratic Party, plus making their voices heard outside the White House.
And now it's time for him to rest.
Reaction from voters on what they expect from the next president. And the Republican Party shifting priorities, how former President Donald Trump's campaign matches up against other potential candidates. Wet weather expected most of the week. We're tracking the timing of the rain that starts today.
Oh, yeah. James Wood, deep left field.
And hitting the ball to his hometown. A Maryland, Montgomery County native leading the Nationals to a big win to end the weekend.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good morning. Taking a live look over the White House on a morning of a massive political shifting. President Biden out of the race for a second term this November. He has thrown his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. We're going to let you know how this impacts Republicans and Democrats coming up in just a moment. But thank you for starting your morning with us here on DC News Now. It is 8 o'clock on a Monday. I'm Tanaya Wright.
And I'm Corey James, meteorologist Jackie Lears, tracking the timing of some rain moving in a little bit later today.
Yeah, I mean, we are starting to see a few light sprinkles right now, but we'll likely start to see more of that wet weather overspraying the region, and then even more rain chances expected later on this week. So here's a view of those rain chances over the next several days. Today, very likely. Today, the best chance for rain. Tomorrow, we do have some scattered showers and thunderstorms expected later on in the day. Wednesday, very similar to the day today, and those chances do wind down towards the latter half of the week. Friday, there's a slight chance, mainly early on in the morning, and then we're looking at drier conditions, and that dry pattern will stick around this upcoming weekend. So again, most of the week tracking the wet weather though, and so make sure you do have the rain gear before you step out this morning. We do have a few light sprinkles around the Beltway, even some light showers back over towards Winchester, and a cluster of thunderstorms approaching Luray. Those look to be dissipating right now, but we still have some more wet weather just south of our area associated with the stationary front that will lift its way ever so slightly northward, bringing us more of that wet weather through the day today. And we'll likely see some of those showers and thunderstorms with some heavier downpours too, just because of how humid the air mass is over our area right now. So be on the lookout for some heavier downpours to develop later this morning and into the afternoon. I'll have more details on that coming up.
DC News Now is your local election headquarters. President Biden dropping out of the presidential race, becoming the first sitting U.S. president since Lyndon B. Johnson in 1968 to not seek re-election.
And now lawmakers are returning to Capitol Hill as Biden endorses Vice President Kamala Harris for the Democratic nomination. National correspondent Raquel Martin weighs in on everything that's taking place.
We should have a better read on where the entire party is in coming days, but already many Democratic lawmakers are enthusiastically throwing their support behind Vice President Kamala Harris.
After President Joe Biden shocked the nation by bowing out of the 2024 race and endorsed his vice president, Democrats appear to be uniting behind Vice President Kamala Harris.
Oh, I'm all in for Harris. I've known Harris since 1991. She is smart. She's capable.
Dozens of influential Democrats, from the Clintons to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, are all pledging their support for the VP. But notably, congressional Democratic leaders, including former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, stopped short of a Harris endorsement.
We're going to have an open, orderly democratic process.
Senator Richard Blumenthal suggests the party will have an open primary to allow delegates to weigh in before informally nominating a candidate ahead of the Democratic National Convention next month.
And then we will come together with an excitement and exuberance, even a joy.
In a statement, Harris vows to earn and win over support. So far, no other Democrats are challenging Harris for the nomination, although independent Senator Joe Manchin appears to be flirting with the idea. Legislative affairs expert Casey Burgett says with the president behind her, Harris has a huge advantage.
That's about as good as an endorsement as you can give.
Until Vice President Kamala Harris is working nonstop to shore up support ahead of the Democratic National Convention. Sources close to the vice president say she made more than 100 calls to governors, members of Congress, and other advocates on Sunday. For now, in Washington, Raquel Martin, back to you.
And Biden dropping out of the race means former President Donald Trump is now forced to switch his campaign strategy.
This comes as a large part of the former president's campaign had been focused on contrasting Trump's mental fitness with Biden's. Now, some are concerned about how sustainable the Republicans' campaign will be against a much younger opponent. Still, Trump's senior campaign advisor said they've been prepared for Harris to take the ticket since Biden's poor performance at the debate. The new strategy involves highlighting the policy decisions made by both Biden and Harris over the last 4 years. Today, Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, will be making an appearance in Radford, Virginia. He's expected to criticize the White House over the economic and border policies.
And this morning, we are learning about more Democrats who are joining President Biden in endorsing Vice President Harris. Despite gaining support, Harris is not the nominee for the Democratic Party. Now, that is because the Democratic National Committee says it is going to follow the rules and procedures of the party to pick a candidate. The party's chair says that is expected to happen in the coming days. Meantime, potential presidential candidates being named include California Governor Gavin Newsom and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
Meantime, political experts are measuring Vice President Harris's chances of winning the November election if she is nominated. Polling done by the Hill Indecision Desk headquarters last week showed Trump leading Harris by 2 points. Trump has roughly 47% of support, while Harris has about 45% of support. Experts say this is about the same as Trump's 2.5 lead over Biden. And locally, there are some mixed reactions from DMV voters about the president's decision to drop out of the race.
Yeah, some spending time in front of the White House yesterday showing their support. DC News Now's Liberty Simmons is live at the White House this morning with how voters are reacting. Liberty, good morning.
Well, many voters were here yesterday expressing their gratitude for President Joe Biden. And now all eyes turn toward Vice President Kamala Harris and whether or not she can beat former President Donald Trump. And President Joe Biden has been isolating from COVID in Delaware. He announced Sunday he would drop out of the presidential race. The move comes after a poor debate performance led to growing calls from within the Democratic Party for the president to step aside. Many of the president's supporters say as much as they wanted him to stay in the race, they back his decision. Some say the president did the patriotic thing and what is best for the country, while others came to the White House here to say good riddance. Some criticized the Democratic Party, saying Biden earned millions of votes in the primary and should still be the nominee.
I think he should resign. He's not doing a good job.
I think the president has done the best job that he could, and now it's time for him to rest and for people to take care of him.
Now, the president has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, but the Democratic Party says it will do its due diligence first before nominating a candidate. For now, outside of the White House, Liberty Simmons, DC News Now.
Thank you, Liberty. Your time now, 8:07. Montgomery County Fire and Rescue say one person injured after a tractor trailer slammed into a bridge and a car. And this happened on 495. Crews responded to the crash near the Beltway, right near River Road in Bethesda yesterday. The person who was injured were told taken to the hospital. We are not aware of their condition. And in Virginia, an Alexandria man searching for justice after he says his dog died at a PetSmart store. He says he dropped off his dog at the PetSmart at Potomac Yard last month. The dog died just 2 days later. It is among 2 other dogs that died recently at that same location. The man says his dog passed a checkup before staying at the store.
We would want transparency from PetSmart, some sort of communication. I would want them to hand over the surveillance footage.
PetSmart says in an email that they are working with the Animal Welfare League of Alexandria to investigate the deaths.
The CDC says a deadly outbreak of listeria is making people sick across the country, including people in the DMV. So far, the organization says there are 8 cases in Maryland and Virginia. Now, officials say people who got sick reported eating meats at deli counters that were sliced. The agency says it is doing an investigation to determine what type of deli meat might be contaminated. So far, nearly 30 people have gotten sick and 2 have died. Officials are encouraging people to heat up their deli meat before eating. And major airlines still canceling and delaying flights after a global computer outage Friday. Officials say it was caused by a Microsoft security tool called CrowdStrike. Now, FlightAware says Delta has already canceled more than 600 flights today, many of them coming out of Atlanta and Minneapolis. And let's take a live look over Paris this morning from our
not ours. It's the American University of Paris camera, rather. We're less than a week away from the start of the Olympic Games, and that's with the opening ceremony happening across France on Friday. And when you think of the Olympics and the DMV, one of the biggest athletes is swimmer Katie Ledecky.
Ledecky now heads to her 4th Olympic Games, but her competition could be tougher than ever. Ledecky still widely considered the favorite to bring home the gold in the 2 longest freestyle events. However, she could face competition in the shorter races. She opted not to swim in the 200-meter freestyle despite putting up the fastest time at this year's trial. She is not the favorite to win the 400 meters this year. She took her first ever loss in that race in last Olympic Games in Tokyo. Ledecky will look to add to her record of 6 individual gold medals when the games start this weekend. And you could meet an Olympic medalist in Montgomery County tomorrow. Silver Spring native and Olympic gymnast Dominique Dawes will be in Montgomery County with local leaders when they unveil her statue. Now it's going to be unveiled outside of the Silver Spring Rec and Aquatic Center at noon. Dawes won the team gold in '96 and has 3 more bronze medals, so congrats to her. And looking forward to the Olympics starting soon. All right, 8:10 now on a Monday. We've been feeling the heat recently, and the high temps can be especially dangerous for people on certain medications.
After the break, what a local doctor is saying about how you can keep your medicine safe. Plus, Israel's prime minister is landing in D.C. today. What we can expect from his visit.
But first, taking a live look outside. Jackie, not raining just yet, but we are expecting rain later today.
Yeah, right now we're seeing those overcast skies for much of the area. So a few showers and thunderstorms starting to push its way in, mainly for the southernmost parts of our area. More details, timing all that rain coming up right after the break.